Hi, this is Margo. This is Sunday afternoon, August the 4th, 2019. And I hope everyone is doing well. I've taken a little rest from doing some videos. I've had a lot to take care of. I'm caregiving my 80-year-old best friend whose health is failing. I'm not sure how much longer he's got to be here. Got left, so that's been my main focus, and my voice got pretty worn out with the daily earthquake reporting, so it's still not 100% as you can tell, but I wanted to do an update. I'm going to do a methane update and a sea ice update today, and we'll take a little peek at earthquakes, at what's been going on. But I just wanted everyone to know I'm still here. Things are getting really rough all around the world, and I don't know if abrupt climate change is going to kill us before the society descends into total chaos and anarchy or not. It seems like with all the recent shootings and things that are going on, it's a toss-up, how we're going to die first. So if you haven't gotten right with God and Jesus, I recommend you do that now. So with that being said, I have cams pulled up here. The most recent methane data is from Friday, August the 2nd. We have the global view and total column here. I just wanted to give you an overview right off the bat. I've never seen total column this bad, because you're seeing the red go now over the Pacific Ocean. It's over China. It's heavy over India. Now it's moving on over into the Middle East and into Africa. It's also going to be turning red quickly here in northern part of South America. And this is an accumulation of the methane. It's as a result of methane release. And methane is on the uprise, on the upswing here. So we can see that. So let's go to surface level. Now, just because I haven't done reporting doesn't mean that I've stopped looking at the data. I'm still watching all the data very closely, monitoring it on a day-by-day basis, and I've recorded some silent videos of daily methane as it's come out, and as I have the time and energy, I'll be uploading those for my members on Subscribestar. But I haven't seen a methane blowout yet, and here it is, the global view from Friday, and I want to show up in the Arctic, and they just had an earthquake today up here in let's see, where is it? In the Laptev Sea, right up here, was a 4.3 earthquake that happened right on the coast, and so that'll be cracking everything open. So I expect to see higher methane releases coming up. So let's run this movie. Let me refresh this since I changed the level. You have to refresh it to get the right chart down here. So the data is from Friday, and the forecast runs Saturday through Tuesday. So let's see if this is still in the queue. I think it is, because I already had this loaded up earlier. So what we're looking at, this is the Arctic view. We've got high releases coming off of Iceland, and then in the Atlantic all around Iceland, Norway, Sweden and Finland are still high, and then we had been seeing some really high releases here in northwest Russia, but it looks like this it's really amassing over here in Siberia. And in the forecast period, you can see release here in the Laptev Sea, right over here. This is where the earthquake happened, and so I'm a little surprised. Well, I'm kind of a lot surprised that we haven't seen higher methane releases coming actually out of the Arctic Ocean yet this year. And we saw much higher releases during the winter, and earlier, like in March, there were really dark releases coming up even through the sea ice. And now, you know, it's mainly on land, but we can see that the background color has changed from the darker green. It's gone up to a very pale chartreuse, up into the yellow and the orangey color, and that's showing that the main release is, you know, it's going up. It's definitely going up. We're still seeing releases here in Alaska, Canada, and so forth, but this coming off of Iceland is you know, that's pretty dramatic. I haven't seen it like that before. So let's now move into, I'm gonna just go ahead and, since I haven't done an update in a while, let's just go through a few different shots here, a few different views. This is the North Pole view, and so now we can see the whole northern hemisphere and what's going on. So let's load this up. And I've been missing my reporting, and it helps keep me on track, and it kind of acts as a diary, you know, as to watching everything fall apart and come down, and that's kind of how I'm seeing it. And so, you know, it doesn't matter to me how many people see these videos. What matters is that, you know, I'm documenting this, and it's like my diary of my observations as we get closer and closer to the end. And the end is near. The end is a lot nearer than we know. And you know, I was thinking that we'd have a big earthquake event, and, you know, especially in California or in the Northwest Pacific and the Cascadia and all that. That's what I was thinking, and I still think we will. It just hasn't happened yet. But it's all building, and magma's rising to the surface, and they're finding new volcanoes, and it's just a matter of time. It's seriously just a matter of time. So you can see China's covered up, India's covered up. You can see the waves moving across and releasing, and then releasing in the ocean and all that. Alright, so let's go to Europe, the European view, and it always looks a lot worse when we can get close. Obviously, we can see in detail where it's releasing. Here's the UK. It's awful, and here's France and Belgium, Netherlands, Germany, and so forth. Here's Northern Africa. So here's Portugal and Spain. Here's Saudi Arabia over here. And, some days I've just been so tired and exhausted. It was all I could do just to look at the data, much less, I just couldn't do a report. And, I apologize, but, everybody needs a break every now and then. And I haven't forgotten about any of you, and I've been praying for everybody, and just hope everybody is doing the best they can in dealing with things, and realize that, as things come apart, we're going to have a lot of changes emotionally and mentally and physically, and it's a lot of just accepting that there's going to be a lot of pain and suffering. Right at the very end, there's going to be lots and lots of pain and suffering, and I'm feeling it, being the empath that I am. Now see, that's not wanting to load. Let's try it like this. I know I recorded a silent video earlier. Here's North America. And so the best you can do, with all that pain and suffering, is if you have a personal relationship with God and Jesus, you pray and just give it up to them, and that's all I know to do. And that's comforting to me, and realize that this is not my home, and we're all here temporarily, and frankly, I'm just ready to go home. I'm ready to go home. There's no saving the planet. There's no saving. I don't know. It's gotten so dark, and Satan is running rampant, and if you can't see that with what's breaking out now with all the shootings, and it's only going to get worse. It's only going to get worse. Now look at all this methane up here in the Vancouver, Seattle area, and this is where I've seen a lot of sulfur dioxide releasing, and we're having earthquakes up there as well. And here's Southern California, and there are still earthquakes going on in the event area of Searles Valley, Ridgecrest. It hasn't stopped, and it fluctuates. Hold on. It comes and goes, but they haven't stopped. So there's that. Now, let's see what I have. I was looking at NOAA for today, and I was able to get 2 images. This is from the Met-Op-1 satellite from the morning from yesterday, and the mean was 1,889 parts per billion, with a big, huge area of missing data in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. And then here it is, the Met-Op-1 from the afternoon, and the mean was 1,891. And you see all this fuchsia color. That's very high. That's the highest down here. Up to 2,318 parts per billion, and those were the only readings I could get, because the other readings are not available. Here it is when we look at methane. Look, Met-Op-2, no data, nothing. And I checked all the days, nothing. There's the AM, and there's the PM. And this happened before. and then it was 2 weeks between reporting, and methane had gone up like 5 parts per billion. But I did record the data last week, even though I didn't report. And last week, so I'll go ahead and do that now. Last week, for July 27th, this is for 477 millibar readings. I'll open this up. We had the Met-Op 1 AM was at 1887. The Met-Op 1 PM was 1887. The Met-Op 2 AM was 1865. And the Met-Op 2 PM was 1864. And the average of those readings was 1875.75 parts per billion, and that was an increase of 3 parts per billion from the week before. And we can see it on the chart here. It went up 3, and this is at the 477 millibar reading that I've been tracking since March the 1st. And since March the 1st, that, as of last week, that had been an increase of 18.50 parts per billion. So, if we look at this again, so that was 1887 for Met-Op 1, morning and evening, and where was I? And so what we have is 1891 and 1889, so that's already higher. So it's on the rise, you know, it's just on the rise. What can I say? So since we don't have all the data, I'm not going to put it on the spreadsheet, but next week hopefully we'll get new data in and can put it on the spreadsheet. Now, so there's the methane part of the report. Okay, I already showed global. Let's go back. See, this works fine when I'm not recording, and now all of a sudden it's decided it's not going to work. It's insane. It's going to show some sulfur dioxide. You know, they can't just let me do a report. That's okay. I can show sulfur dioxide. I've got it right here. Here's sulfur dioxide from CAMS from today. And so we're seeing a release coming out of Canada, moving on up into the Arctic, and here over in the Middle East. That's industrial related there. Here's Popocatépetl. That's from what's going off. Here's what's going off in Hawaii. Here's the volcanoes in South America going off. We've had release up here in Alaska. This is where the Uluwatu volcano exploded yesterday. It sent up a 63,000 foot blast into the atmosphere. But here's the Pacific view. So here's Uluwatu. So tomorrow we'll see if this increases. There were reports. I saw the reports, you know, where, you know, they were saying, oh, this is couldn't cause a early winter and this and that. It doesn't look like it to me. It seriously does not look like it to me. You know, that's not the only sulfur dioxide going off, and it's compared to the others and what went off in Raikoki back in June that I reported on when it blasted. and it kept going, and it covered the whole whole Arctic area, and I was showing that daily. This is not going to be that. So that report of saying that this was going to cause an early winter and, failing of crops and stuff, we already have crop failure. What they were able to plant, it's not going to be from this. Seriously, it's not. So there's that. Now let's move on. Let's see, where do I want to go next? I want to go to Climate Reanalyzer, and we'll just do go around the world looking at what's going on. Here's the temperatures for today around the world. We can see it's pretty hot. We can see that most of the Arctic is above freezing. We got a little bit of blue over here, which is at 0, and then the rest of the Arctic is above freezing. And we got a lot of reds and going into the white, which is really hot. So there's the world on fire. And here's our 2-meter temperature anomaly. So we can see, if we click around, this is where it's warmer than normal. Greenland is hotter than, and then up here in Siberia, now here's Novaya Zemlya, and then this is the Kara Sea here, and the Laptev Sea is over here, and right over here is where the earthquake happened. But this is where we saw a lot of that methane coming up, so that's definitely hot. And here's the Antarctic, and it's kind of a mix of, pockets that are hotter than normal and pockets that are colder than normal. So it's we're off the charts. There's no more normal. Look at the abnormal cool area in the middle of in Brazil, down here in South America, an abnormally cool area up here in Russia, northwest Russia, and abnormally cool over here in parts of Canada and the United States, and it doesn't make sense. Nothing makes sense anymore. And for the whole world, it's 0.1 degrees C higher than normal. The northern hemisphere is 0.6 degrees higher than normal. The Arctic is 1.3 degrees higher than normal. The tropics are 0.3 degrees higher than normal. The southern hemisphere is 0.4 degrees lower than normal. And the Antarctic is 2 degrees lower than normal. So, see, it's all out of whack. Nothing makes sense anymore. Let's look at the jet stream, our schizophrenic jet stream. You can see it all split up and looping. And even in the southern hemisphere, it's split up as well. And then here's the sea ice. Now I'm going to take you through a slideshow, but here's what it looks like today. So it's melted all around the edges of Russia and Alaska and Canada here, and it's just, well, it's August 4th. It's in the height of the melt season. Here's the sea surface temperature anomaly. I didn't mean to do that, but anyway. And look at this. Their latest data is from Tuesday, July 30th. What is that about? Why is that so old? It's all hot. Look at that. Maybe it's so much hotter they can't post it. I don't know. Look at that. Look at that. It's all red up here by Greenland. Oh my gosh. Even the water's on fire. So, let me take you through my slideshow now. Okay, so here's the slideshow that we're going to go through. I have Climate Reanalyzer images here. My last update was on July 25th, so we're going to go back through the images from today, August the 4th, to July 25th to see where we were. Here's the 3rd, 2nd, the 1st. Here's July 31st, 30th, 29th, 28th, 27th, 26th, and here it is on the 25th when I did my last update. So you can see how it's just thinned out, and we can see the thinness of it even on the 25th. So let's go back through this going forward. And you can see the difference daily. It's really dramatic. Now there was a big melt there from the 29th to the 30th. Here's the 31st, August 1st. And here it is for today. Okay, next in my slideshow, I have, this is the Navy sea ice thickness image from today. And we can see, I'm going to blow it up here so we can see it in detail. We can see this getting really thin right next to the North Pole. Where these two lines intersect is at 90 degrees north latitude, which is right at the North Pole, and where it's going into the white, that's loss of sea ice completely. And we can see that the lavender is very thin, and most of the sea ice today is in the lavender or purple, a little bit in the dark blue, and just a tiny bit in the dark aqua, and around the coastlines it's pretty much all melted. And right up here at the northern part of Greenland, and up here we're in the northern part of the Canadian archipelagos is where the thick ice used to live, and we can see there's no more thick ice. There's just a little hint of thick ice right here on the northern edge of Greenland, right there, but you know, it's not looking good at all. And then this is the Navy GIF. It goes back 3 weeks and forward 1 week, and so at the end of the forecast period it's August 11th. So I'm going to stop it when it gets, okay, here it is on August 11th. So this is where they're anticipating the melt to be by August 11th. And that's not the end of the melt season. The melt season doesn't end until around September 17th or 19th, and it could go longer. It went longer last year, and it kept melting from underneath last year is what we found. And I think that's okay. And then this is an animation that I created from NASA Worldview. I created it yesterday, and it's the sea ice concentration starting on July the 14th going through August the 1st. So now I'd started over, and you can see it. The darker blue it is, that's the less concentrated it is. So as it's melting, you can see it just fading away, basically. And it's all melted around Novaya Zemlya now, and it's pretty much all melted all around the edges here. And Greenland is pretty much done. Okay, and now we're back to the beginning. So I'm going to close that. Now, if we look at, this is the National Snow and Ice Data Center. This is the Arctic. This is from yesterday, August the 3rd, sea ice concentration. So this correlates with what we saw on the Navy website and on NASA Worldview. And it's not much white. That's the extent is going way in too. And here's the chart for the graph for the Arctic sea ice extent, and it's at an all-time record low, and it has been since the first part of July. We can see this blue line, and here it is for when this dotted line was August 2012, and that was the record low year for sea ice extent, and so we're even below that. And even in 2012, with the lower extent, with the lowest extent on record, it was much thicker then, and so now we're in big trouble. And while we're here, let's just take a peek at the Antarctic. Here's the daily. Here's their concentration in the Antarctic. It's not doing that great, it doesn't look like. And let's look at this chart. And this is a record low too. See the blue line, it's at the bottom. It's been at the bottom all year, so that's not looking good. Now looking at the Greenland ice sheet today, here's in the Salmon area is what's melting right now today, the surface melt, and the multicolored image that I'm pointing to here is the Greenland cumulative melt from January 1st to August the 3rd. And then here is the melt extent for 2019. And look at this spike. I nearly fell off my seat when I saw this. We just thought we had a spike in June. See the spike in June? Look at this spike that happened. It looks like right at the end of July. I'm not sure what the date that was. But, uh-oh, what'd I do? Here we go. It looks like this was towards the end of July, and it spiked up to 60% melt. And in like the first part of June, it spiked up to what, 42 or 3% melt. But here, this is incredible. It's way up there. So the Greenland ice sheets are melting exponentially by the day. Okay, now we can just take a peek at NASA Worldview, and I'll refresh to make sure I've got the latest data here. We're missing some right here, but we can go back to yesterday for that area. So if we zoom in, here's Greenland that we just looked at, and you can see the retreat of the ice sheet, especially on this west side. And look here on the east side, you can see just the ground. There's no snow or ice there. It's incredible. Now these are clouds here. There's no ice there in the Baffin Bay. There's no ice down here. These are clouds. Here's Iceland. Up here at the northern edge of Greenland is where there's such an incredible breakup of what used to be the old ice. And that, which I won't talk about since it's going to be on YouTube, but you know what it is. Here's the nearest strait. That's melting quickly. We can see. You could probably put a ship through that. There's still a little bit of ice right there, but that's about to go. So from the Navy view, we saw a little bit of thick ice right in this little niche of Greenland, but that'll be gone soon. Here's Novaya Zemlya. That's in cloud cover. There's no ice around that. Here's Svalbard. And see how it's all melted? And right here at Longyearbyen is where the seed vault is, buried in the permafrost. So, you know, I don't see any permafrost there. I mean, there's still some white, so I guess there are still some areas that are frozen, but you know, it's going to be melting fast at this rate. They call it permafrost because it's not supposed to melt. Okay, here's the Laptev Sea. Big open area here. These are all clouds. There's no ice here. And let's go over and look at that earthquake. Here's the earthquake that happened up there, right on the coast. Right here. It was a 4.3 at Ust-Kuga, Russia at 6:22 this morning. That's Pacific time. Right next to the red line. That's the tectonic plate line. So we saw lots of methane coming up here, and so I anticipate more methane to be released now. Anytime we see any Arctic earthquakes up here, it's going to be releasing more methane. So let's go back over to Worldview. So we've got to get oriented again. So that's all clear. So we're looking through clouds here. Here's just a skim of ice. That's that very light purple. But there are pockets that where it's like no ice. And the East Siberia ice shelf is right along here. And so they're worried about, this is where they're worried about the methane bomb going off if it gets too warm. Here is the Beaufort Sea. There's no ice there. That's all clouds. There's no ice in here. So let's go back to yesterday and see what we can see. Here's the Amundsen Bay. Here's the Bering Strait. Look at that. I've been talking about this. and I'm not talking about it on YouTube. I talk about it on my private videos on Subscribestar on what's going on with AI and the clouds and the weather, and nothing is normal or natural. And this is why, one of the reasons everything's speeded up in my thinking. Here we can see it ice-free all around Novaya Zemlya. See these clouds? Straight lines? That's not normal. I talk about all that in my private videos, but I'm not going to talk about it now. I'm just going to do the sea ice report. But you can see for yourself. You can see for yourself that there's nothing normal here in the clouds. Okay, so now you can see really the sea ice coming in. And let's zoom in and see if we can see the melting. Might be too many clouds right now. Here it is, melting here. Big melt. That's at 84 degrees north latitude. Now here's the North Pole, and so the areas where we saw the very thin ice developing was right along here. So I'm not sure if that's in cloud cover or not. We can turn on ice surface temperature. And wherever you see the colors, that's where there are no clouds. So it appears that there are clouds there right now, so we can't see. Okay, there's no clouds right there from yesterday. So if you zoom in, you can see. But it's just hard to tell exactly. But just, it's going away. It's all going away. And if you zoom in, you can see the melt ponds on Greenland. These are melt ponds here. See the little blue things? That's where the ice has melted and it's gathered in ponds on the ice that's underneath. These are all called melt ponds. That's all over the place. There's some more. And I'm going to end with a blog post from Sam Carana from Arctic News. This is arctic-news.blogspot.com. He posted this last Tuesday, July 30th. And the title is Arctic Sea Ice Gone by September 2019? ? And this is a graph that he made showing the sea ice extent all these different years. And according to where we are here on this red dotted line, it's showing a downward spiral. So it could be gone, he's thinking, by September 17th. Arctic sea ice minimum extent typically occurs about half in September. In 2012, minimum extent was reached on September 17th, 2012, when extent was 3,000 or is that a decimal? 3.387 million square kilometers. On July 28th, 2019, Arctic sea ice extent was 6.576 million square kilometers. How much extent do you think there will be by September 17th, 2019? So he goes through the whole thing of the calculation, and he says, could there be a blue ocean event in 2019 with virtually all sea ice disappearing in the Arctic? And so he goes through all of this. So, he thinks it could be, in which case the end is much nearer than we think. And there's another thing from NASA Worldview. This is from July 29th, and we just saw it just now, same area. So, here's the high methane levels at Barrow, Alaska, end of July, etc., etc. So I will leave the link below to this blog post of his. And now we'll just briefly go over some earthquakes. They haven't stopped. It's picking up all around this ring of fire and all on the red lines. They're getting bigger. And even in the event area at Searles Valley, they're still going on. See, they've got 234 in the last 24 hours, and there are 424 earthquakes worldwide. I've been taking screenshots every day, even though I haven't posted any recently, but the lowest I saw was on August the 2nd of 159 here. And then on August the 3rd it started going up to 209. And then this morning there were 239 here. So it's not stopping. So there's the earthquake up on the Laptev Sea, and here was one off the coast of Japan, 6.3. Here's Fukushima, not too far away. That's not comforting. This came in this morning at 3:23 a.m. Pacific time. And then they've just been going around. So I'm not going to do daily earthquake reporting anymore. That kind of put me over the edge. But I will do periodic updates for methane and sea ice and different things over here on YouTube, and I will do my methane updates and more detailed reports for my Subscribe Star members. So I think that's a wrap. So, you know, things are happening so fast, it's so hard to keep up with everything, and you really have to be discerning, and it's time to really just narrow your focus and learn to go within and communicate and get your guidance from God, because that's the only place you're going to get the truth. You're not going to get it from mainstream media, and a lot of the alternative news sources are not correct either. So it's just hard to know. It's hard to know. But I'm going to sign off for now. I love everyone. And until next time, God bless you. Go in peace. And goodbye.